Okay, year 8, let's go through the paper. Okay, the first question was lovely, nice and easy. So we want to add these fractions, so we need to make the denominators the same. I'm going to make both denominators 30, and so I'm going to multiply top and bottom of the first one by 3, and then top and bottom of the second one by 2. So I get 9/30 plus 4/30, and 9 plus 4 is 13 over 30. So nice and simple. Okay, B. First of all, you get 1 mark for changing them to top-heavy fractions. So remember how we do that? So 2 times 6 is 16, plus 5 is 21. So 21 over 8. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So 7 over 6. And remember, we leave it, change it, flip it. Some of you cross multiply, and that is absolutely fine. So that's allowed. So 21 over 8 times 6 over 7. And you get 162. Nope, sorry, 126 over 56. Okay, so you get that, and then really you should now simplify. So, and I think that gives you a second mark writing that. And so then you simplify, so 126 over 56. The biggest number that goes in is 14. So divide by 14. And I've got 9 over 4. And then when we write that as a mixed fraction again, we get 2 1/4. Okay, and that's for all 3 marks. Okay, this one was also fairly straightforward. M plus M plus M plus M plus M is just 5M. There are 5 M's there. P times H times 7 is just making sure you understand how in algebra we don't write multiplication symbols. So you should write 7HP. I prefer it in alphabetical order. The 7 should always be first. However, you're very lucky in the mark scheme, they did accept PH7 or even P7H, which surprised me. So that was quite nice. Here, we're going to divide both sides by 8 to get that G equals 3. Here, we're going to take away 9 from both sides to get that F equals 14. So this one was a straightforward percentage decrease. So 100% take away 35% is 65%, and then 65% as a decimal is 0.65. So you should have picked up your calculator and put 1,200 multiplied by 0.65, and you would have got your answer to be $780. Okay, so you could just do that straight away on your calculator. We did allow other methods, but that's the one that we've learned, and it's the quickest way. Okay, next one, number 4. A cinema increased the cost of an adult ticket by 12%, so it's an increase. So let's quickly just write what we would multiply by. 100% plus 12% is 112%, and 112% as a decimal is 1.12. So this is a reverse. And remember, with reverse, we do the same thing as a normal percentage, apart from we must divide because we're working backwards. And so the new price is £18.20. So we're going to divide by 1.12. And again, grab your calculator and you should get £16.25 when you do that. Okay. For number 5, they want you to find the equation of the line. So we need two things. We need the gradient. And so we choose 2 points here and here. And for my triangle, it's 2 squares up and 1 square across. So the gradient, and we're actually going to write this as -2 because the line is sloping down. So the gradient is -2 divided by 1. So the gradient is -2. And then what we also need is where it crosses the y-axis, which is here at 4. And so we put that together and our answer is y equals -2x plus 4. You could have also have written y equals 4 take away 2x. Both are acceptable, so that's absolutely fine. These questions were an absolute gift, but we still had people getting these wrong. Write the number 7,025 in figures, so it should look like this. Write the number 9,450 in words, so 9,400 and 50. Okay, in words. Write the number 28.75 to the nearest whole number. And so it says to the nearest whole number, not nearest 10. So you look at the 8 and the next number is 5 or above. So we're going to round up. So to the nearest whole number, it's 29. To the nearest 1,000, so we've got the 1,000 here. We look at the next number along. Because it is less than 5, we are going to leave it, so it's just 7,000. Okay, here we want to find the perimeter. A lot of you try to find the area. No, we are finding the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter is adding up all the outside. So this line, which is 18, this line, which is also 18, and this curve here, which is what we need to find out. So remember, this curve here is a quarter of the circumference. So what you should do is find the whole circumference by doing 2 times, well, you could either do pi times 36, so pi times diameter, and the diameter would be 36, so we double this, or 2 times pi times radius. It really doesn't matter, so 2 times pi times 18 in this case, because that would be the radius, because the centre would be here. And we're going to divide it by 4 because I only want a quarter of it. If you do that, I'll just get my calculator out. If you do that, you should get 28.3 because we're doing it to 1 decimal place. And then obviously for the total, what you should do is add on the 18 and the other 18 to get a total of 64.3 centimetres as your full answer. Okay, a lot of you struggled with this question, but it was easier than you think. So, what I would do is it says use averages and range to explain your answer. So, what I liked is some of you had a little table for yourself where you worked out, for example, the range for both sprinter A and sprinter B. So sprinter A would be 14, the range would be 14 take away 10.7 to give a range of 3.3. And then the range for sprinter B, the highest was 12.4, take away the lowest being 12.2. So 0.2 is the range. Then the other two things you could find were the mean. So the mean, if you add up all of sprinter A, so if you add up all of sprinter A and divide by 5, you should get 12.18. With sprinter B, I would add them. Well, there are two ways you could do it. If you're going to forget about race 4, then make sure you divide by 4. Add them up and then divide by 4 and you should get 12.275. So 12.275. And then if you put them in order and found the middle, then you should find the median as being 11.6 for the sprinter A and then 12.25 for sprinter B. Now, actually, you didn't need to find all of these. This is just an example of what you could have found. Actually, the mark scheme says that you get 1 mark for a correct method to find average or range for one sprinter. The second mark was finding the same average or range for the other sprinter and comparing them. And then the third mark is for your answer with like a justification with a correct decision. Okay, so you could have either written, so that for example you could have written you're going with sprinter B because they are more consistent. Okay, and that is because you can see here it has a lower range. So you could have gone with that, and that would, doing all of this would have gotten you the full 3 marks. But you equally could have written, sprinter A. So as long as you justified your answer and backed it up with calculating and comparing range or mean or median, you would have got the full marks. So sprinter A, because they are faster on average. And again, what supports that is either both the mean and the median were both lower, so which means that they were faster. They took less time than sprinter B. So you could have written either person as long as they were backed up with what you found out. Okay, on to the scatter graph. Now, this is where people lost marks as well. You should, on part B, you should always draw in a line of best fit. That is you showing your working, so that even if you get it wrong, I can give you some marks for drawing a line of best fit and trying to discover the answer that way. Anyway, name the type of correlation. It is positive, because it is sloping upwards, so positive. A student was absent for the French test. They scored 45 on the Spanish test. And we're going to estimate a score for the French test. So the first thing I would do is draw in a line of best fit. Remember, your line of best fit does not have to go through 0, 0. You just want to make sure there's roughly equal number of points either side or line on the line. Okay, so that's about in the middle. Could possibly be a bit better. I'm going to go with that for now. So they scored 45 on the Spanish test. So 45 is going up in 2. So 2, 4, 5 is here. Just about, and until I hit the line, and then I read off the line, and it's going up in 2s again, so 54. So I've got 54 for the French test. And when I look at the mark scheme, they gave you a wide range. They said anything from 48 to 58 would get you a mark. They've put the correct answer as being 53, but they will let you go plus or minus 5 either way. But you got the 1 mark for drawing an appropriate line of best fit, and so always draw that line in so that you can at least get 1 mark for that question. So this was an inverse proportion question. And we know it's inverse proportion because here you can see, so it says it takes 30 hours to make all the plates using 4 machines. And you would assume the more machines you have, the less time it will take. So as the number of machines increases, the number of hours to make it should decrease. Okay, so it's an inverse proportion. And so hopefully what you realised is if you look at machines and then hours, so 4 machines take 30 hours, and they wanted to know how many 6 would take. And so to get from here to here, we multiplied by 1.5, and so to get from there to there, we should divide by 1.5, and so 30 divided by 1.5 gives us 20. Okay, so we do the opposite. So it takes 20 hours. There are other ways you could have done it. You could have also check that. Remember on inverse, these two, I'll highlight it. These two, they multiply to make 120. These two should also multiply to make 120. Okay, so that's another way you could have done it, is to check what you would multiply 6 by to make 120. Okay, let's continue. So this one was quite nice. You describing the single transformation that maps P onto Q. It was only worth 2 marks. So 1 mark for saying that it was a reflection, and then you want the mirror line. So in the line, x equals 1. Okay, so in this line here. Okay, So it's a reflection in line x equals 1. Some of you did write it was a rotation, and you did get the full marks for this. So some of you said, because it could also have been a rotation 90 degrees anti-clockwise about 1, 1. Okay, so if you wrote that, you also got a mark for that. That's absolutely fine. I think some of you didn't realise it was a flag, that there's a line that goes there, so it's a flag rather than just a triangle. But that's fine if you didn't realise, as long as you then drew it in the correct place for part B. So on the grid, you had to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise from the point to 0. And so you should have ended up with the triangle being here. So 5 minus 1, 5, so 6 minus 1, and 5 minus 2. So it should have been here. Okay, I'm going to colour it in a little bit so you can see it properly. And obviously then you had the stick bit going here. Okay, but don't worry if you didn't draw that bit in. Okay, so that was the rotation. Okay, so next bit, you had to do this on your calculator. So remember, personally, I would have, this one was quite a nice one. If you're not sure how to get the correct answer on your calculator, please come and see me. All calculators are different. Sometimes you have to put a bracket in, sometimes not. If you're trying to do it all in one go, then you could put brackets around the top bit and then divide by 0.14, but you should have got 17.531 and so on. Okay, you needed to at least have written 3 decimal places, so in order to get the 2 marks. Then you need to write it to 1 decimal place, so that means 1 number after decimal point, so cut it off there. The next number is less than 5, so we're leaving it as 17.5 for the next bit. Again, this one was quite a nice one. We had to write this as an ordinary number, so moving the decimal point, we're moving it once that way. So it would be there, and then we would have 6 zeros because we were moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this would be our number 22 million. Okay, alright, now we're going the opposite way. We want to write this as in standard form, so we're going to write it as 9.5 times 10 to the power of, and we're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 9.5 times 10 to the power of 5. Okay, here on the map, 4 centimetres represents a real distance. So I'll write that down. 4 centimetres represents a real distance of 1 kilometre. On the map, the distance between 2 points is 14 centimetres. Work out the distance, the real distance between the 2 points. So what I would do is I would do 14 divided by 4, which is 3.5, to find out what I must have multiplied 4 by to get 14, and then do the same to the other side, and that gives me 3.5 kilometres. Next one, expanding the brackets. Some of you like using the grid, some of you like using arrows, some of you do it in your head, which is fine. 5 times 7k is 35k. 5 times 3 is 15. So our answer is 35k plus 15. Make T the subject of this formula. So what I'm going to do, again, there are different ways you could do this, but let's look at what's happening to T. E is being subtracted from it, then it's being divided by 2, and that gives you K. Take K and then go the other way, the opposite way, and undo. So I'm going to times K by 2, so I get 2K. And then instead of subtracting E, I'm going to add E. And that is what T equals. So T equals 2K plus E. Right, let's solve this. So I'm going to take away 2x from both sides. And then on this side, I get 5x plus 8 equals minus 3. Then I'm going to take away 8 from both sides. And I get 5x equals minus 11. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 5 to get that x equals minus 11 divided by 5. You could have left it as a top-heavy fraction or minus 2.2. It's completely up to you, or even a mixed fraction, actually. Okay, here we've got 2 fair spinners. Make sure you read it properly. So here it is talking about the sum. The score is the sum. Remember, sum means add. So we're adding the 2 scores together. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5, and so on. 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 5, 6. 3 plus 1 is 4. 6, 7, and so on. So you can make sure that you are adding them. Okay, so that you just had to fill that in. Then you had to come up with the probabilities. Find the probability that the score will be 3 or less. So 3 or less. So here's 3 or less. This is 3 or less. This is 3 or less. And I think that is it. That is out of a possible 16, because there are 16 results here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so there are 16 of those, and there's 3 out of the 16. So our answer is 3 out of 16. Then it said find the probability that the spinner A lands on that the number spinner A lands on will be greater than the number spinner B lands on. And so that's a bit harder because you can't just look at the numbers that you've written in. You have to look along the top. So find the probability that the number spinner A lands on will be greater. Okay, so where does that happen? I'll do it in a different colour. So you can see here that 2 is greater than 1, so it happens here. 3 is greater than 1, so it happens here. 4 is greater than 1, so it happens here. 1 is not greater than 2, 2 is not greater than 2, but 3 is greater than 2, and 4 is greater than 2, so it happens there and there. Here, 4 is greater than 3, and that's it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers highlighted. So it's 6 out of 16. Okay. Next one, we are looking at a travel graph. So let's have a look. Write down the distance from Jane's home to college. You literally are just going to read off where she gets up to, okay? So it's 9 kilometres. She is 9 kilometres from home to college. Write down how long Jane stopped at the shops. So this is where she remained stationary. We just have to be careful. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in between. So 10 minutes. 10 minutes is 5 squares, which means that 1 square is 2 minutes. And so we're just counting 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So she took 12 minutes. So she stopped at the shops for 12 minutes. Okay, almost there. So here we've done simple interest. Remember, basically it's an increase. So we know that we need to find 4% of 5,000. So we're going to do 5,000, and it's up to you how you find that 4% actually. So 4% time 5,000 times 0.4, and you get 2 is 5,000, isn't it? No, and it's not 0.4. Sorry, it should be 0.04 because it's 4%. Sorry, 4% as a decimal we divide by 100 is 0.04, and so that gives us 200. So she gets 200 back from the or he gets 200 back, but that's for 1 year. We've got 3 years, so we're going to do 3 times 200, and so Harry gets 600 from the bank after 3 years. Okay, or you could have done the increase. You could have done 5,000 multiplied by 1.04, seen that is 5,200, worked out that 200 had been added to it, and then multiply that by 3, so it shows it's 600. Right, so here we're doing a percentage change. So remember, it's always the difference divided by original times by 100. So in this case, we're going to do 158,220, take away 146,500, divided by the original, which is what he originally bought the house for, which is 146,500, and then we're going to times by 100 when we get the result, and we should get it to be, I'm just going to double check actually, so 158,220 take away 146,500 gives you 11,720, and then when you divide it by 146,500, and then times by 100, you get 8%, and so hopefully that's what you got, 8%, so times by 100 I should say here. Okay, almost done. Is this the last one? I think it is. Right, we're going to draw this graph, and so y equals 2x plus 3 means multiply by 2, then add 3. So 0 times 2 is 0, plus 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. And so we should have those filled in. And then you need to plot that on here. So you've got 0, 3, 1, 5, 2, 7, 3, 9, 4, 11, and 5, 13. And then draw a straight line going through it all. And that's it. And then you've got your graph there. And that's the end of that.